The Enchanter's Handbook, a practical guide to building a magical system for everyday success, by Ali Erickson. Introduction. You have more power than you think. It was 3 a.m., and I was sitting on the slightly sticky floor of a hospital corridor, surrounded by the quiet, rhythmic beeping of machines that I'd come to associate with a state of chronic exhaustion. In my hand, I held a lukewarm cup of truly atrocious instant coffee, and in my other, a textbook so heavy it could have been used as a defensive weapon. I was a junior doctor, just a few years out of Cambridge, and I was, to put it mildly, drowning. My to-do list wasn't just a list anymore. It had morphed into a multi-headed hydra. For every task I managed to slay, reviewing patient charts, prepping for morning rounds, responding to an urgent page, 2 more seemed to spring up in its place. And this was just my day job. On the side, I was desperately trying to keep my fledgling YouTube channel alive. My grand vision of sharing study tips and productivity hacks with the world was, at that moment, being fueled by a diet that consisted almost entirely of instant noodles and the sheer, unadulterated panic of impending deadlines. I remember staring at a particularly stubborn stain on the linoleum and having a thought that was both utterly ridiculous and deeply appealing. I just wish I had a magic wand. One flick and my video would be edited and uploaded. Zap! And I'd be fully prepared for my medical exams. Poof! And a healthy, home-cooked meal would appear before me, saving me from yet another sachet of chicken-flavored salt. It was a silly, sleep-deprived fantasy, but it stuck with me. We all have those moments, don't we? Those times when the sheer volume of life, our work, our goals, our relationships, our health, feels so overwhelming that the only conceivable solution seems to be supernatural intervention. We wish for more hours in the day, for a clone of ourselves, or for a magical artifact to just sort it all out. Well, I'm here to tell you that the magic wand is real. It just doesn't look like what you'd find in a dusty old magic shop. Over the years, from my time as a stressed-out medical student to becoming a full-time YouTuber and entrepreneur, I've discovered something that has fundamentally changed my life. I've learned that you don't need a literal wand to get things done, to achieve your goals, and to build a life you genuinely love. What you need is a magic system. Now, before you start picturing me in a pointy hat, let's be clear. This isn't about chanting incantations or brewing potions in a cauldron. Though we will talk about brewing the perfect cup of coffee for maximum focus, which is its own kind of potion making. A magic system, in our context, is a personalized framework of mindsets, habits, and tools that work in harmony to make your desired outcomes feel almost automatic. It's the invisible architecture that supports your ambitions. It's the set of rules you design for your own game of life, rules that stack the odds in your favor. It's the difference between constantly struggling against the current and effortlessly riding the wave. Think about your favorite fantasy stories. The most compelling magic isn't random or chaotic. It has rules. It has structure. A wizard must learn the right words, the correct wand movement, the proper ingredients. The magic works because there is a system behind it. Your life is no different. By consciously designing your own system, you can move from feeling like a helpless bystander in your own story to becoming the powerful enchanter at its center. In this book, I'm going to be your guide on this quest. We're going to throw out the old, boring, and soul-crushing models of productivity that make you feel like a cog in a machine. Instead, we're going to have some fun. We'll treat our habits like everyday enchantments, our tools like wands of power, and our goals like epic prophecies we get to write ourselves. We'll laugh at my past mistakes, like the time I tried to use a dozen productivity apps at once and ended up being productive at exactly nothing. We'll be inspired by the science of psychology and the stories of countless others who have transformed their lives by building their own systems. And most importantly, you'll learn the practical steps to forge your own unique magic system, one that is perfectly tailored to your personality, your strengths, and your dreams. You don't need to be born with a special gift or a genius-level intellect. You just need the willingness to become the architect of your own life. You have more power than you think. It's time to find your magic. Let's begin.
Part 1. Discovering Your Inner Sorcerer. Chapter 1. The Sorting Hat of Strengths. What's your magical affinity? I have a confession to make. When I first read Harry Potter, a small secret part of me wasn't just captivated by the spells and the adventure. I was obsessed with the Sorting Hat. Think about it. You're 11 years old, nervous and overwhelmed, and this magical hat is placed on your head. It peers into your very essence, your courage, your ambition, your intellect, your loyalty, and tells you exactly where you belong. It doesn't just give you a house, it gives you an identity. It tells you this is who you are. This is your tribe. For years, I craved a sorting hat for my own life. During my medical training at Cambridge, I was surrounded by brilliant people who all seemed to have their paths perfectly mapped out. They were destined to be world-class surgeons, groundbreaking researchers, or compassionate GPs. They were the Gryffindors, Ravenclaws, and Hufflepuffs of the medical world. And then there was me. I enjoyed the science, and I cared about the patients, but my mind kept wandering to video editing, website design, and how to explain the Krebs cycle in a way that wouldn't put a caffeine-addicted student to sleep. I felt like a wizard who was pretty decent at potions, but secretly just wanted to spend all day practicing charms. It was confusing. I was on a path that ticked all the boxes of success, yet I felt a fundamental mismatch between what I was doing and who I felt I was. This is a feeling I think we all experience. We're told to follow a career path, adopt a certain productivity system, or emulate a successful person's routine. But when it doesn't quite click, we assume the fault is with us. We think, I'm just not disciplined enough, or I'm not as smart as them. But what if the problem isn't you? What if the problem is that you're trying to cast a transfiguration spell with a wand that's built for divination? The first, most crucial step in building your personal magic system is to discover your own unique magical affinity. Forget generic personality tests or corporate strengths finders for a moment. We're going to figure out what kind of magician you really are. This isn't about putting you in a box. It's about giving you the permission to lean into what you're naturally good at, because that is where the real magic happens. When your work aligns with your innate strengths, it stops feeling like a grind and starts feeling like play. Over the years, I've noticed that most of the work we do falls into a few key schools of magic. See if any of these resonate with you. The schools of magical affinity. The Alchemist. The Alchemist has the golden touch. They are masters of turning something small into something valuable. They see opportunities where others see none. In the workplace, this is the entrepreneur who spots a gap in the market, the financial whiz who makes savvy investments, or the project manager who can turn a shoestring budget into a stunning success. Their core magic is value creation and growth. They instinctively understand the power of compounding, whether it's with money, habits, or ideas. The Scribe. The Scribe is a master of knowledge and information. They wield words, data, and code like a finely tuned instrument. This is the writer who can craft a compelling story, the researcher who can distill complex data into a clear insight, the programmer who builds elegant systems from lines of code. Their magic isn't structuring and communicating information. They bring order to chaos and clarity to complexity. The Charm Specialist. The Charm Specialist's magic lies in connection. They are brilliant with people. They can inspire a team, negotiate a deal, build a thriving community, or make a customer feel truly seen and heard. This is the leader who everyone wants to work for, the salesperson who builds genuine relationships, or the YouTuber who creates a loyal following. Their magic is in communication and influence. They understand that progress is ultimately about people. The Transfiguration Master. The Transfiguration Master is the ultimate doer. They are geniuses at turning an abstract idea into a concrete reality. While others are still talking, they are building. This is the engineer who builds the bridge, the artist who creates the masterpiece, the chef who designs the menu, the entrepreneur who actually launches the product. Their magic is in execution and implementation. They can take a vision and give it form and function. Now, you're probably not just one of these. Most of us are a blend, a magical hybrid, but we almost always have a dominant affinity, a primary school of magic that we feel most at home in. My own sorting hat moment came when I stopped seeing my YouTube channel as a distraction and started seeing it for what it was. I was taking my medical knowledge, the domain of a scribe, and using it to teach and connect with thousands of people. I wasn't just a medical student, I was a teacher. My magic was in simplifying complex topics and making them accessible and engaging. Realizing this was incredibly liberating. It gave me the confidence to double down on what I loved. I started dedicating more time to my channel, not with guilt, but with purpose. And a funny thing happened. The more I leaned into my natural affinity, the better I became, not just at YouTube, but at my medical studies too, because I was constantly finding new ways to understand and explain the material. My side hustle wasn't a distraction from my real work. It was the purest expression of my magical self. So, what about you? Are you an alchemist, a scribe, a char specialist, or a transfiguration master? Knowing the answer is the foundation upon which your entire magic system will be built. It will influence the tools you choose, the habits you cultivate, and the goals you set for yourself. To help you on this journey of self-discovery, I've put together a short quiz on the next page. It's not scientifically validated by the Ministry of Magic, but it is designed to get you thinking. Be honest with your answers. This is the first step to stop fighting against yourself and start working with the magic you already have. Ready to be sorted?
Chapter 2. The Wand Chooses the Wizard. Selecting Your Tools of Power. In the world of Harry Potter, a wizard doesn't just walk into a shop and buy any old stick. There's a profound mystical connection. The wand, they say, chooses the wizard. It's a moment of destiny, a perfect match between the user's core magic and the tool that will channel it. A wand in the right hands feels like an extension of the self. In the wrong hands, it's clunky, ineffective, or even backfires spectacularly. Now, let's step out of Ollivander's wand shop and into the dazzling, chaotic, and infinitely more confusing world of the App Store. If you're anything like I was, your digital life is a graveyard of abandoned productivity tools. You downloaded that fancy to-do list app because a YouTuber raved about it. You signed up for that complex project management software because it promised to revolutionize your workflow. You have 3 different note-taking apps because you couldn't decide which one had the prettiest interface. I remember a particularly dark period in my second year of medical school. I call it the Great Apocalypse. I had decided that the reason I wasn't a productivity god was that I hadn't found the perfect system. So I went on a quest. I had Todoist for my daily tasks, Trello for my YouTube ideas, Asana for my study projects, Evernote for my web clippings, and Notion for, well, I wasn't entirely sure, but it looked really cool. My system was a Frankenstein's monster of digital tools stitched together with wishful thinking. I spent more time managing my management apps than I did actually doing the work. I'd have tasks slip through the cracks because I couldn't remember if I'd put buy milk in Todoist or on a Trello card under a life admin board. It was a complete disaster. The tools that were supposed to be my powerful magical artifacts had turned against me, creating more work, more friction, and more guilt. This experience taught me the most important lesson about productivity tools. The wand chooses the wizard, not the other way around. We get so caught up in the hype of a new app or a new piece of software, the shiny new tool syndrome, that we forget to ask the most fundamental question. Does this actually work for me? A tool's power doesn't come from its features. It comes from its fit with your unique magical affinity. The purpose of a tool, your wand, is to reduce friction between your intention and your action. It should feel like a natural extension of your brain, making it easier to channel the magic you already possess. If a tool adds complexity, creates confusion, or requires a PhD to operate, it's the wrong wand for you. So, how do you find your perfect wand? You start by looking at your affinity. Matching the wand to the wizard. Part 2. Crafting Your Personal Spellbook. Chapter 3. Everyday Enchantments. The Surprising Power of Small Habits. Let's be real for a moment. Motivation is a fickle house elf. Some days it shows up, full of energy and cleans your entire house without being asked. Other days it's nowhere to be found, probably hiding socks in the laundry again. For years, I treated my goals like a series of epic boss battles that required me to summon this massive, powerful spell of motivation. I'd wait until I felt like studying for my exams or until I felt inspired to script a new video. The result? A whole lot of waiting and not a lot of doing. My progress was erratic, coming in short, exhausting bursts followed by long periods of guilt-ridden procrastination. I was trying to cast world-altering spells from a standing start, and it was draining my magical energy and my will to live. The breakthrough came when I realized I had it all backwards. The most powerful magicians don't rely on rare, monumental bursts of power. They build their strength through small, consistent, everyday practices. Welcome to the art of everyday enchantments. This is the core of your personal spellbook. It's the understanding that a life of success and fulfillment isn't built by one-off acts of heroism, but by the quiet, consistent magic you weave every single day. We're going to break this down into two types of magic: the small spells that get you started and the big ones that change your life. Incantations, the magic of momentum. An incantation is a tiny, almost laughably small ritual that kicks off a larger magical process. It's the abracadabra that gets the ball rolling. Its power isn't in the act itself, but in its ability to effortlessly overcome the friction of starting. Think about it. The hardest part of going for a run is often just putting on your shoes. The hardest part of writing is staring at that blinking cursor on a blank page. Incantations are the micro spells designed to bypass that initial resistance. Examples of my own personal incantations. To start writing, I don't set out to write a video script. My incantation is to open Notion and type a single sentence. That's it. That's the spell. More often than not, one sentence becomes two, and then a paragraph, and suddenly the muse has arrived. To go to the gym, I don't commit to a full workout. My incantation is to simply put on my gym clothes. Once I'm dressed for the part, it feels almost silly not to go. To read more, my incantation is to open my Kindle app during the ad break of a YouTube video I'm watching. I don't have to read a chapter, just a page. These aren't life-changing habits on their own. They are the magical words that summon the energy for what comes next. Enchantments, the spells of transformation. If incantations are the spark, enchantments are the steady, burning flame. These are the larger, reoccurring systems that, over time, fundamentally reshape your reality. They are the keystone habits upon which your magical fortress is built. An enchantment isn't a single action, but a protected block of intention. For me, the most powerful enchantment I ever cast was my 2-hour rule. When I was juggling my medical duties with my YouTube channel, my time was fragmented into tiny, useless scraps. I'd try to edit a video in a 15-minute gap between hospital rounds or answer comments while waiting for my instant noodles to cook. The result was scattered work and a constant feeling of being behind. So I cast an enchantment. I carved out a 2-hour block every single day that was sacred, protected, and dedicated solely to my most important creative work, which was usually YouTube. It didn't matter if it was early in the morning or late at night. For those 2 hours, I was unreachable. I put my phone in another room, turned off all notifications, and focused on that one thing. This single enchantment was more powerful than all my flailing attempts to be productive throughout the day. It was the engine that built my channel. It was a spell for deep, meaningful work, and it transformed everything. The spellbinding formula. How to create habits that stick. Okay, this all sounds lovely, but how do we actually make these habits stick? We need a formula. Drawing inspiration from the incredible work of James Clear in Atomic Habits, I've created my own magical acronym to make it easy to remember. The spellbinding formula. To create a new incantation or enchantment, you need to bind it to your life. B. Bite-sized. Make it ridiculously small. Your brain loves to win. If your goal is meditate for 30 minutes, your brain sees a huge, intimidating task.
If your incantation is sit on the meditation cushion for 10 seconds, your brain says, easy, I can do that. Start with the spell so small you can't possibly fail. I, intentional cue. Link your new habit to an existing one. Don't just say, I'll do 10 push-ups. Say, immediately after I brush my teeth in the morning, I will do 10 push-ups. Brushing your teeth is the intentional cue that triggers the spell. This piggybacking technique automates the decision-making process. N. Noticeably fun. This is the part everyone misses. If a habit feels like a chore, you will eventually quit. You have to find a way to make it enjoyable. Hate running? Don't run. Try a dance class or rock climbing instead. Hate boring text study? Turn it into a game, use flashcards, or study with a friend. For me, I made video editing fun by listening to my favorite soundtracks. Infuse your habits with genuine, feel-good energy. D. Delightful reward. Every time you successfully cast your spell, celebrate. This isn't about giving yourself a chocolate bar every time you floss, though you do you. The reward can be as simple as mentally telling yourself, nice one. It's a tiny fist pump of self-acknowledgement. This creates a positive feedback loop in your brain, making you want to repeat the action. Curse breaking. Undoing bad habits. What about the habits we want to get rid of? We use reverse magic. To break a curse, you simply invert the bind formula. Make the bad habit invisible, difficult, unfun, and unsatisfying. Want to stop mindlessly scrolling on your phone? Make it invisible, move the apps off your home screen, and difficult, log out of social media after each use. Want to eat less junk food? Make it unfun, think about how sluggish it makes you feel, and unsatisfying by having a healthy, delicious alternative. Your spellbook starts now. You don't need to master a dozen new habits overnight. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single incantation. So I ask you, what is one ridiculously small, bite-sized spell you can cast today? What tiny action can you bind to your routine that over time will gather magical power? Start there. The grand magic will follow.
Chapter 4. Potion Making for Beginners. Brewing Energy and Focus. There was a point during my final year of medical school when I genuinely thought I might be breaking. Not in a dramatic movie scene kind of way, but in a slow, creeping, fraying at the edges sort of way. I was studying for my final exams, working shifts at the hospital, and trying to upload 2 YouTube videos a week. My entire existence felt like a frantic race against the clock that was perpetually speeding up. I was surviving on a diet of hospital canteen sandwiches, granola bars, and enough caffeine to tranquilize a small elephant. Sleep was a luxury I felt I couldn't afford, something to be caught up on later, in some mythical future where I had free time. I was treating my body like a machine that I could just keep pushing, ignoring all the warning lights blinking on the dashboard. The wall I eventually hit wasn't spectacular. It was quiet. I was sitting in the library, staring at a page on cardiovascular pharmacology. The words were just squiggles. I read the same paragraph 4 times and retained absolutely nothing. My brain, usually my most trusted ally, had simply clocked off. It had gone on strike. I felt a profound, hollowed-out exhaustion that no amount of coffee could fix. It wasn't just physical, it was mental, emotional. I had no spells left to cast because my magic meter was completely, utterly empty. That day, I didn't go to the library. I went home, drew the blinds, set my alarm for 12 hours later, and slept. It felt like the most counterproductive thing I could possibly do, a complete surrender. Yet when I woke up, the world looked different. The words on the page made sense again. My thoughts felt clearer, sharper. It was a revelation. I had spent all my time trying to learn new spells, productivity techniques, and polishing my wand, my apps and tools, while completely neglecting the most fundamental part of any wizard's toolkit, the potions. You can have the most powerful spells and the fanciest wand in the world, but if you don't have the energy and focus to wield them, you're just a person waving a stick around. This chapter is about potion making for the modern magician. It's not about complex biohacking or restrictive diets. It's about brewing the 3 fundamental potions that fuel everything else you do: sleep, nutrition, and exercise. Potion number 1, the elixir of deep sleep.
We have a toxic relationship with sleep in our culture. We treat it as a necessary evil, a time-wasting inconvenience to be minimized. This is, to put it bluntly, insane. Sleep isn't a passive state of doing nothing. It's one of the most active and potent forms of magic you can perform. When you sleep, your brain is like a team of diligent house elves cleaning up after a massive party. It clears out metabolic waste, consolidates memories, transferring important lessons from your short-term to your long-term memory, and repairs cellular damage. Depriving yourself of sleep is like telling the elves not to bother cleaning. Things get messy fast. The recipe for the elixir of deep sleep. Ingredient 1. A consistent bedtime. Your body loves rhythm. Going to bed and waking up at roughly the same time, even on weekends, is the most powerful ingredient for regulating your internal clock. Ingredient 2. A cool, dark cave. Your inner caveman brain associates darkness with sleep. Make your bedroom a sanctuary. Use blackout curtains, wear an eye mask, and turn the thermostat down a few degrees. Ingredient 3. A dusk ritual. You can't go from 100 miles per hour to 0. Create a 30 to 60-minute buffer before bed. No screens. The blue light actively blocks the sleep hormone melatonin. Instead, read a physical book, listen to a calming podcast, do some light stretching, or journal. This ritual signals to your brain that it's time to power down. Potion number 2, the potion of unwavering focus, fuel, and caffeine. If sleep is your magical recovery state, then food is the raw material for your spells. You wouldn't put cheap, dirty oil in a high-performance engine, so why do we fuel our brains with junk? This isn't about a specific diet. It's about a simple principle. Your brain runs best on high-quality, stable fuel. Sugary snacks and refined carbs are like flash powder, a quick burst of energy followed by a dramatic crash that leaves you foggy and unfocused. Protein, healthy fats, and complex carbohydrates are like slow-burning logs. They provide sustained, reliable energy. And then there's our favorite magical ingredient, caffeine. Caffeine is a powerful potion, but it's a tricky one. Used wisely, it can dramatically boost focus and alertness. Used poorly, it disrupts your sleep and leads to energy debt. The recipe for the potion of unwavering focus. Ingredient 1. Drink a glass of water first. You wake up dehydrated, which can cause fatigue and brain fog. Before reaching for coffee, drink a full glass of water to rehydrate. Ingredient 2. Delay your first cup. Your body naturally produces a stress hormone called cortisol in the morning to help you wake up. Wait 60 to 90 minutes after waking to have your first coffee. This allows your cortisol to peak and fall, meaning you get the caffeine boost when you actually need it, rather than layering it on top of your natural energy. Ingredient 3. The 2 p.m. curfew. Caffeine has a long half-life, meaning it stays in your system for hours. For most people, drinking caffeine after 2 p.m. can interfere with the quality of their deep sleep, even if they have no trouble falling asleep. This creates a vicious cycle of being tired the next day and needing more caffeine. Impose a strict curfew. Potion number 3, the drought of rejuvenation, movement and breaks. Wizards in stories don't just sit at desks all day. They walk through forests, climb towers, and explore dungeons. Movement is baked into their lives. For us, exercise often feels like a separate, punishing task on our to-do list. We need to reframe it. Exercise isn't just for your body. It's one of the most potent brain enhancers available. It boosts blood flow to the brain and increases a miraculous molecule called BDNF, or brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which is essentially fertilizer for your brain cells, helping you learn faster and remember more. Even small sips of this potion are effective. I'm not asking you to run a marathon. The magic starts with a simple walk. The recipe for the drought of rejuvenation. Ingredient 1. The thinking walk. Stuck on a problem? Can't figure out the next step in a project? Go for a 15-minute walk without your phone. Some of my best ideas for videos have come not when I'm staring at a screen, but when I'm aimlessly wandering around my neighborhood. Ingredient 2. The Phoenix Down break. In old video games, a Phoenix Down would revive a fallen party member. You can do the same for your focus. Working in focused 60 to 90-minute blocks is great, but you must take a real break afterwards.
A real break is not switching from a Google Doc to scrolling Twitter. Get up, move, stretch, look out a window. A 5-minute break of actual rejuvenation is worth more than a 20-minute break spent consuming more low-grade information. These potions are not optional extras for the advanced magician. They are the fundamentals. They're the daily practice that keeps your magical well from running dry. This week, don't try to master all 3, just choose one. Will you brew the elixir of deep sleep by creating a dusk ritual, or the potion of unwavering focus by delaying your morning coffee? Pick one potion, brew it with intention, and feel your magic begin to return.
Part 3. Advanced Magic and Lifelong Mastery. Chapter 5. Divination for Dummies. How to predict and create your future. If you'd told me during my first year at Cambridge that one day I'd make a living talking to a camera in my bedroom about productivity, I'd have laughed. Politely, of course, because I was trying to be a serious, respectable future doctor. But inside, I'd be thinking you were completely bonkers. My future was a set, linear path. Finish medical school, become a junior doctor, specialize, become a consultant. It was a good, safe, respectable path. It was my destiny. The only problem was, it didn't feel like my destiny. I remember having this recurring, low-grade anxiety. It felt like standing at a crossroads in a thick fog. I knew one road led to a safe, well-lit village, but I could hear faint, entreating music coming from the other paths, the ones disappearing into the mist. Which one was I supposed to take? What if I chose wrong? I desperately wished I had a crystal ball, a magical, scrying mirror that would just show me a 5-second clip of my future self. Look, Ollie, you're 30, you're not living in a box under a bridge, it's all going to be fine. We've all been there, haven't we? We set ambitious New Year's resolutions only to abandon them by February. We have big dreams, to write a novel, to start a business, to travel the world, but they feel so huge and amorphous that they float around like ghosts, haunting us with what could be. Traditional goal setting often makes it worse. We're told to set SMART goals: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. And while that's not bad advice, it can feel incredibly sterile. It's like trying to summon a majestic phoenix by filling out a spreadsheet. It lacks, well, magic. This is where we get the art of divination completely wrong. We think of it as a passive act of seeing a predetermined future, but the most powerful magicians know a secret. Divination isn't about predicting the future, it's about creating it. The best way to know what the future holds is to pick up a pen and write the prophecy yourself. In this chapter, we're going to learn how to do just that. We're going to stop worrying about the fog and start enchanting our own path through it. Scrying, seeing the vision in the crystal ball. Before you can chart a course, you need a destination. In magic, this is called scrying, gazing into a reflective surface to see a vision. For us, it's about looking into the crystal ball of our own imagination to see the future we truly want. This isn't about a 5-year plan, it's about crafting your personal prophecy. A prophecy is different from a goal. A goal is, I want to lose 10 pounds. A prophecy is, to become a version of myself who is full of vibrant energy, strong and capable enough to tackle any adventure that comes my way. See the difference? One is a task, the other is an identity. One is a line item, the other is a story. My own impossible goal, becoming a full-time creator, started with a prophecy. After my moment of burnout in the library, I realized the traditional doctor's path wasn't the whole story for me. I did some scrying, which mostly involved a lot of journaling and long walks. I didn't focus on subscriber counts or income targets. Instead, I crafted a prophecy to build a life where I can learn, create, and teach every day, empowered by financial freedom and creative independence. That became my North Star. It was inspiring. It was exciting. It was a vision I wanted to step into. So, how do you write your own? Forget spreadsheets for a moment. Grab a notebook and try this scrying exercise.
Right at the top of the page, it's 5 years from now and my life is amazing. Then just write. What does it look like? What kind of person are you? Your identity. What does your average day feel like? Your lifestyle. What work are you doing and why does it excite you? Your contribution. What are you learning? Who are you with? Your growth and connections. Don't censor yourself. Don't worry about how. Let yourself dream. This is the first and most important act of divination, daring to have a vision so compelling it pulls you forward. Reading the tea leaves. From epic prophecy to everyday action. Okay, so you have your grand, epic prophecy. You want to build a floating castle in the sky. Fantastic. Now what? If you stare at the castle, you'll just get vertigo. This is where the second art of divination comes in. Reading the tea leaves. You take your big, swirling, abstract vision, and you look for the patterns, the small, concrete shapes that tell you what to do next. This is how we break down the prophecy into a practical plan without losing the magic. I call it the Enchanter's Almanac. Most people plan year by year, but a year is a terribly long and intimidating block of time. We're going to think like ancient magicians, attuned to the seasons. We'll work in 90-day quests. A 90-day quest is short enough to stay focused, but long enough to make meaningful progress. Here's how I translated my prophecy into a plan. The prophecy was to build a life where I can learn, create, and teach every day, empowered by financial freedom and creative independence. The 1-year interpretation, reading the big leaves, to make this prophecy feel real, what needs to happen this year? For me, it was reach 100,000 subscribers on YouTube and generate enough side income to match my junior doctor salary. This was my concrete, measurable objective for the year. The 90-day quest, seasonal spellcasting. I looked at that 1-year goal and asked, what is the most important thing I can do in the next 90 days to make that happen? In the early days, my first quest was master the fundamentals of making a good video. I didn't worry about subscribers or money, I just focused on learning the craft. A later quest might have been build a system to create 2 high-quality videos a week. The actionable steps, the weekly incantations, this is where the magic really happens. The 90-day quest gets broken down into weekly and daily actions, linking back to our everyday enchantments from Chapter 3. For my Master the Fundamentals quest, my weekly incantations were things like watch and analyze 3 videos from creators I admire, learn 1 new editing trick in Final Cut Pro, script, shoot, and edit 1 video, no matter how bad it is. This system turns a terrifyingly vague dream into a simple, actionable checklist. The prophecy gives you the why. The almanac gives you the what. You no longer have to wonder if you're on the right path. You just have to focus on this season's quest, this week's incantation. The fog of the future doesn't have to be scary. It's simply an invitation to perform an act of creation. A plan isn't a rigid set of chains, it's a magical map. And while the wise wizard knows that the map is not the territory, they also know that having a map is the best way to avoid walking in circles. So let's start your divination practice. You don't need to chart out the next decade, just pick one area of your life. Your career, your health, a creative passion. Take 10 minutes and try to scry. Write down a single inspiring prophecy for yourself. What story do you want to tell? It's time to write the first sentence.
Chapter 6. Your Dumbledore's Army, Building a Council of Mentors. There's a pervasive myth that I absolutely bought into for the longest time. It's the myth of the lone wizard. You know the image, the solitary genius, locked away in a high tower, poring over ancient texts, emerging only when they've single-handedly discovered the secret to eternal life, or, in my case, the perfect study technique. During my toughest years at medical school, I was that wizard, or at least I tried to be. I'd hole up in the library for 12 hours straight, fueled by lukewarm coffee and a stubborn belief that if I just worked harder, if I just pushed myself further into isolation, I would conquer the mountain of information before me. When I started my YouTube channel, it was the same story. I spent countless nights alone in my room, wrestling with editing software, convinced that asking for help was a sign of weakness. It was my quest, my burden, my tower. And it was completely, utterly exhausting. Worse, it was ineffective. I was trying to reinvent the wheel, making every possible mistake along the way when there were people all around me who had already built entire carriages. The most powerful wizards in our favorite stories are never truly alone. Where would Harry be without Ron's loyalty and Hermione's brilliance? Dumbledore himself, for all his wisdom, relied on the Order of the Phoenix. The truth is, building a successful, meaningful life isn't a solo mission. It's a team sport. To truly master your magic, you need to stop trying to be the lone wizard in the tower and start recruiting your own Dumbledore's army. Assembling your personal board of directors. The idea of finding a mentor can feel incredibly intimidating. It brings up this image of formally approaching some all-powerful, godlike figure and asking, "Will you, oh wise one, please be my mentor?" It's awkward and it rarely works. Let's reframe it. You're not looking for a single savior. You're assembling a personal board of directors. Or, to stick with our theme, your own Dumbledore's army. This is a council of allies who support your quest. The beauty of this model is that different people fill different roles. Most of my breakthroughs haven't come from one Dumbledore, but from a combination of allies. Your army might include the Albus Dumbledore, the mentor. This is the classic mentor figure, someone who is 10 to 20 years ahead of you on the path you want to walk. They fought the dragons you're about to face and can offer high-level strategy and wisdom. They provide perspective, reminding you not to sweat the small stuff because they've seen the whole map. The Hermione Granger, the peer mentor. This might be the most underrated and valuable member of your army. This is someone at your level, on the same journey, who is just as obsessed as you are. For me, this was other part-time YouTubers I met on online forums. We weren't competing, we were co-conspirators, sharing every new discovery, every small win, every frustrating failure. You learn with a Hermione, and their progress inspires your own. The Ron Weasley. This is your ride-or-die friend. They might not understand the difference between SEO and CPR, but they understand you. They're the one you call when an experiment blows up in your face, when you feel like a fraud, or when you just need to vent. They keep you grounded and remind you that your worth isn't defined by your productivity. Never underestimate the magic of unwavering loyalty. The Remus Lupin, the coach. This person isn't necessarily an expert in your specific field, but they are an expert in asking powerful questions. A coach doesn't give you the answers, they help you find your own. They can help you see the blind spots in your own thinking and untangle the mental knots that are holding you back. When I started to think this way, I realized I already had the beginnings of an army. I had supportive university friends, Rons, and I started actively seeking out fellow YouTubers, Hermione's. This network became my secret weapon. Recruiting your members without being awkward. Okay, so how do you find these people? For mentors, Dumbledores, forget the cold email. The key is to start by being a student, not a solicitor. Don't ask for anything. Instead, give. Find someone you admire and immerse yourself in their work. Read their book, take their course, listen to their podcast. Then apply one piece of their advice, and crucially, let them know the result. A short email or a public tweet saying, "Hey, I used your advice on X and it led to Y result. Thank you," is infinitely more powerful than, "Can I pick your brain?" You build a relationship by demonstrating that you're an action taker, not just a time taker. Over time, a genuine connection can form, and mentorship can arise naturally from that. For peers, Hermiones and Rons, you have to go where the magic is happening. When I was starting out on YouTube, I felt completely isolated. The turning point was when I intentionally joined online communities and later a course called the Part-Time YouTuber Academy. Suddenly, I was in a room of requirement filled with hundreds of other people on the exact same quest. We had a dedicated space to ask stupid questions, share our analytics, and get feedback on our thumbnails. This peer group accelerated my growth more than any book or solo effort ever could. Find your tribe in online forums, Discord servers, local meetups, or group courses. Defense against the dark arts. Your Dumbledore's army is your greatest defense against the dark arts of the mind, the internal forces that sabotage your magic. The Dementor of imposter syndrome. This is that soul-sucking feeling that you're a fraud and will be found out at any moment. It feeds on isolation. The charm to repel it is community. The moment I felt like a complete imposter, a doctor pretending to be a YouTuber, I sent a message to my peer group. The flood of replies saying "Me Too" was the most powerful Patronus imaginable. It didn't banish the feeling forever, but it drove it back into the shadows. The boggart of procrastination. A boggart takes the shape of your greatest fear. For many of us, that's the monumental, overwhelming task on our to-do list. The spell, as we know, is ridiculous. You make the fear absurdly small. But your army adds another layer: accountability. Telling your Hermione that you'll have the first draft of your chapter done by Sunday creates a powerful social incentive. You're no longer accountable to yourself. You're accountable to your allies. The imperious curse of comparison. This insidious curse forces you to mindlessly scroll through the highlight reels of others' lives, making you feel inadequate and steering you off your own path. Your army is the shield. A good mentor will see you getting distracted by someone else's success and say, that's their prophecy, not yours. What's the next step in your quest? A supportive peer will remind you of how far you've come. You are not meant to do this alone. The entire structure of your magical education, from the lessons you learn to the spells you cast, are amplified by the people you surround yourself with. Your quest is your own, but the journey is one you can and should share. So here's your incantation for this week. Perform one small act of magical recruitment. It could be sending a thank you note to someone whose work has inspired you, joining one online community for a skill you want to learn, or scheduling a call with a friend just to talk about your respective goals. The most profound magic is rarely cast from a lonely tower. It's forged in the circle of a trusted army. It's time to find yours.
Conclusion: the never-ending quest for magical mastery. It's funny to think back to that person I was, years ago, sitting on the sticky floor of a hospital corridor at 3 a.m., the one who wished for a magic wand to solve his problems. He felt powerless, overwhelmed, and completely at the mercy of his chaotic to-do list and the relentless beeping of machines. I don't have a magic wand now. Not a real one, anyway. My to-do list is arguably even crazier than it was back then. Life hasn't magically become simpler or easier. And yet, everything is different. The feeling of being a helpless bystander in my own story is gone. The frantic, drowning sensation has been replaced by a quiet confidence, a sense of purpose, and, dare I say it, a sense of fun. The difference wasn't finding a secret spell for more hours in the day. The difference was realizing that I could build a system. I could become the enchanter of my own life. And over the course of this book, we have locked that path together and assembled your own personal grimoire, your spellbook for everyday success. Let's quickly look at the powerful magic you now possess. We began by discovering your unique magical identity. We threw out the one-size-fits-all rulebook and used the sorting hat of strengths to find your innate magical affinity. You learned whether you were an alchemist, a scribe, a charm specialist, or a transfiguration master, giving you permission to lean into what you're naturally good at. With that knowledge, we learned that the wand chooses the wizard. We conducted a tool audit, discarding the complex, friction-filled apps and systems that weren't serving you, and instead chose elegant wands of power that feel like a natural extension of your own mind. We then crafted your personal spellbook of everyday enchantments. You learned how to use tiny incantations to overcome procrastination, and how to use the spellbinding formula to build powerful keystone habits that stick, transforming your daily routines into sources of magical momentum. We brewed the 3 fundamental potions of sleep, nutrition, and movement. You learned that these aren't optional extras, but the very source of your magical energy, the fuel you need to cast any other spell in your arsenal. We learned the art of divination, not to predict the future, but to write it. You learned how to scribe for a long-term prophecy that inspires you, and how to read the tea leaves of quarterly planning to turn that epic vision into concrete, actionable quests. And finally, you learned that no wizard is an island. We discussed how to assemble your own Dumbledore's army, a personal board of directors to guide you, and how to use that community as your ultimate defense against the dark arts of self-doubt and imposter syndrome. You now have the complete framework, the architecture for your own magic system. And here, at the end of our journey together, I want to share the most important secret of all. This isn't the end. There's no final exam, no graduation ceremony from the School of Magic. The goal isn't to build a perfect system, lock it in place, and then live on autopilot forever in a mythical land of 100% efficiency. That sounds incredibly boring. I still have unproductive days. I still get distracted. I still feel like an imposter. The difference is that I no longer see these moments as failures. I see them as data. They are signals from my magic system telling me that something needs a little tweak. Maybe a tool has become too clunky. Maybe a habit is no longer fun. Maybe I need to brew a stronger potion of deep sleep for a few nights. The real magic is not in achieving a static state of perfection. The real magic is in the process. It's in the joyful, curious, and never-ending quest of becoming a slightly better, more effective, and more fulfilled version of yourself. It's the fun of trying a new incantation, the satisfaction of completing a 90-day quest, the warmth of connecting with an ally in your army. The hospital floor version of me thought he needed a magic wand to fix his life. He was wrong. What he needed was to realize that he was the magician all along. You are too. You have more power than you think. Everything you need to build an intentional, productive, and joyful life is already within you. The frameworks in this book are simply here to help you unlock it. So, I ask you, what spell will you cast first? Your quest begins. The Enchanter's Starter Kit. To help you get started on your quest right away, I've put together a free collection of digital resources I'm calling the Enchanter's Starter Kit. It's a downloadable bundle of templates and checklists designed to help you put the principles from this book into immediate action. Inside, you'll find the Magical Affinity Quiz, a quick quiz to help you pinpoint your primary school of magic, the Prophecy Framework template, a guided worksheet to help you scribe for your long-term vision and write your own inspiring prophecy, the Enchanter's Almanac template, a simple quarterly planning system to break your prophecy down into 90-day quests, my personal tool audit checklist, the questions I use to decide which wands get to stay in my digital toolkit. You can download it for free right now at the end of this book. Thank you for joining me on this journey. The grimoire is yours now. Go cast some magic.